Hey guys, tonight we embark on a timeless journey across the churning waves of history to explore how ancient sailors survived stormy seas. You find yourself standing on the deck of a wooden vessel, the salty wind tugging at your hair, the rhythmic ebb and flow of ocean waves beneath your feet. The vast open sea stretches out before you, seemingly boundless and filled with mysteries unknown. The world around you teems with the electric anticipation of adventure and the chilling reality of nature's wrath looming on the horizon. But hold on tight, because you probably won't survive this. A storm is brewing, and the knowledge of millennia-old mariners is all that stands between you and the briny deep. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I invite you to share your location and the time with us in the comments below. It's always lovely to imagine where in the world each of you is nestled right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The journey begins as you venture across the ancient seas, a path laid not on maps, but written in the skies and etched in nautical folklore. You're aboard a sturdy wooden ship, creaking and swaying with each undulating wave. The construction seems rudimentary by modern standards, yet clever in its simplicity. Ancient shipbuilders crafted vessels that could withstand the temperamental moods of the sea, using basic yet ingenious technology. You imagine the creaky yet rhythmic groan of the wooden hull as it navigates rough waters, each piece of timber painstakingly fitted to form a vessel born from ingenuity and necessity. The challenges of the ocean are immense, with storms forming vast maelstroms to test the hardiest of crews. You find yourself peering over the edge into the roiling sea, realizing it truly is an unpredictable beast. Modern sailors have the luxury of advanced weather forecasts, but ancient mariners relied solely on their intuition and the wisdom passed down through generations. Legends and stories spun around campfires taught them to read the clouds and understand the direction of the wind, blending natural observation with a touch of superstition. And you realize, this isn't just sailing, it's an impressive dance with nature itself. Above, the sky blurs into a tapestry of deep blues and greys, each cloud threatening to spill its tempestuous cargo on those daring enough to trespass its realm. Sailors had naught but the celestial bodies to guide their ships in times before the compass emerged. Masters of the stars, they journey across oceans by night, finding solace in the constellations. The North Star, Polaris, stands as a beacon of the cardinal north, a twinkling visage of hope guiding many an ancient mariner home. Yet, as you stand on deck, searching for friendly stars among the stormy backdrop, you hear tales from seasoned sailors about Neptune's fury, tales designed to make the believer's heart thrash. Disregard the superstitions, and you may find yourself at the mercy of an incensed sea god. Sailors held fast to good luck charms, murmuring under their breath, ensuring that Neptune didn't transform their journey into a real-life disaster with one mighty wave. Life on board is an expedition in itself, with sailors preparing for the very worst that Neptune or Mother Nature might throw at them. Rough woolen cloaks and leather-bound caps offer a touch of protection against the stinging rain. The crew's routine, though monotonous, serves a critical purpose, ensuring the ship remains a stable haven amid chaos. They reinforce the sails, secure cargo, and maintain a constant vigil, scanning the horizon for signs of fair or foul conditions. Each task becomes a lifeline thrown out to steady them in the tempestuous seas. Yours is a world wrapped in sensation and uncertainty, the salty air filling your lungs, the rolling waves lapping at the hull. And oh, the humour here? Imagine discussing the wage you might have earned. Likely a hearty ale and a handful of salted fish for surviving. Nonetheless, each sailor, much like yourself, is bound by an unspoken understanding of the sea's dual nature. A provider and a destroyer wrapped into one endless expanse. Navigating through the elements, you marvel at the strength of human tenacity, where even the smallest discovery, a new star, a faraway port, becomes a beacon of hope. Amongst the adventure lies the potential for scientific insights, a new understanding of the world formed solely through the perseverance of those daring to conquer the stormy seas. And as the ship sails onward, you're reminded of the unyielding bond shared by mariners and their vessels, a partnership forged at sea. Ultimately, each sailor draws strength from a deep well of courage and resilience. Tonight, you aren't just observing history, you're living it. The sea, in all its fury and majesty, challenges you to survive and thrive. The journey continues on this moonlit path, a reflective stretch of Watergate into the unknown, as you willingly take one more step into the epoch of ancient nautical mastery. As you continue the journey, you pause to appreciate the ingenuity embedded in the very structure of the ancient ships around you. The silhouette of each vessel tells a story of technology and craftsmanship that is both rudimentary and astonishing. The ship's designs were grounded in necessity, their form dictated by the forces of nature they were built to contend with. The triangular sails billow out in the breeze, their strong, woven fibres straining against the wind, guiding each ship forward like a determined kite. Wooden hulls, the lifeblood of ancient mariners, were meticulously crafted from sturdy timber, meant to weather both briny sea and storm. These hulls were made to flex rather than break, bending subtly with the pressure of the waves. The shipbuilders of yore innately understood buoyancy, utilizing tree trunks and planks to create a vessel that could cradle you against an ocean of challenges. Today's engineer might chuckle at the primitive technology, yet one must admire the artistry wrapped around every keystone, sinew and sail. The deck beneath your feet is a testament to the teamwork involved in operating these seafaring marvels. Imagine a ship's crew bustling about, each person with a purpose, mastering their respective tasks. From the carpenter who ensured that each piece fit snugly into place, to the rope maker whose cordage turned chaos into order. These were the unsung heroes of the sea. These ancient craftspeople even devised primitive bilge pumps to keep the ship afloat, a mark of human survival against the unrelentless ocean. Amidst the hubbub of daily ship life, you might recognize a distinct sound, the flap of the sails catching the wind, a kind of maritime heartbeat urging the ship onward. Sails, often crafted from linen or wool, were treated with animal fat or oil to repel water and bolster their strength against tearing winds. It might seem odd, but the pungent smell is a small price to pay for safer passage. The sailors adjust the sails using a method of trial and error passed down through generations, learning to dance with the wind, anticipating each shift and gust. As you walk along the deck, your feet meeting the smooth wood, consider the rudder, another unassuming yet vital component. These early seafaring vessels often used a large oar, an innovation in itself, as a rudder to steer and balance through the tumultuous waters. It's hardly a surprise that the term "cross the line" originates from a sailor's need to navigate the equator, a perfect metaphor for the navigational challenges faced by these ancient mariners. The week's weather is debated among the crew, leaning toward optimistic forecasts brought on by wisps of ribbon-like clouds on the horizon. An age-old maritime weather prediction tool, or what one far-sighted crewmate might call the sailor's barometer. You'll find that this art of weather watching is steeped heavily in folklore and coastal lore, hinting toward the changing fortunes awaiting the shipmaster's crew. Scholars continue to argue over which culture pioneered the most effective hull design. Every civilization that dared to conquer the waves left its unique imprint on the blueprint of maritime history. The Greeks, for example, favoured long triremes driven by rowers, while the Norseman adored their sleek, agile longships capable of slipping unobtrusively into any port or coastline. Each design is a marvel of adaptation, with advantages tailored to the geography, resources, and destinies of the people who built them. While pondering these ancient technologies, you notice the ship's prow cutting through the waves, a silent logger of distance and progress. Older than any compass to guide the way, the lead line was used to fathom water depths and ensure safe passage. As you imagine the call and response of the leadsman and captain, with knots slipping through their fingers, you can't help but smile at this low-tech equivalent of sonar, patiently measuring each nautical mile. Despite the comparative simplicity of these ancient tools, they are a reminder that survival at sea demanded an innate understanding of both ship and ocean. The presence of an astrolabe on board, a peak at its bronze body glinting in the sun, foreshadows the coming era of navigational genius. And yet the use of such tools required a deep trust in both the heavens above and the horizon line where sea meets sky, a leap of faith each time a ship left the safety of the shore. The marvels of ancient shipbuilding, coupled with the stories of their intrepid captains and crews, carve a living narrative across these vast ocean highways. With each nautical mile traversed, you feel the distance connect the vastness of past ages with the timeless pursuit of discovery and happenstance, a marvel that echoes in the modern vassals learning from the ancestors' ingenuity. Your gaze turns to the endless expanse of waves, stretching to the horizon, and you begin to truly appreciate the sheer audacity of ancient navigation. Imagine being aboard one of these ships, miles away from any recognizable landmark, relying solely on the canopy of stars overhead to guide your way. It's as if you're floating between sky and sea, with only the whispers of the wind and the reflections on water to orient yourself. In the absence of a trusty GPS or even a simple compass, the ancient mariner's navigational prowess was nothing short of miraculous. With an eye to the heavens and the instincts honed over countless voyages, they embarked on journeys that today would make even the most seasoned navigator tremble. During the day, the sun served as a watchful guide. At night, the stars danced as a celestial map, laying out the paths for those who dared discern them. You imagine stepping into the shoes or perhaps sandals of an ancient navigator. With a steady hand, he would often use a simple tool called an astrolabe, a precious disc of metal or wood, to measure the altitude of stars or the sun. By carefully aligning this instrument with celestial bodies, he could estimate the ship's latitude, effectively revealing their position north or south of the equator. This knowledge, paired with the skill of dead reckoning, estimating the current position based on a previously determined location, allowed these sailors to sail with a kind of precision that's as astonishing as it is ancient. The practice of reading the wind direction and speed also played a crucial role in navigation. The direction from which the wind blew was a tactical advantage for setting your course, especially with nothing but sails to propel your vessel. You can almost hear the captain shouting, "Adjust to starboard!" as they harness the wind's whispers, the sails pulling taut in response. But there's something magical about this way of journeying. It's not just a foray into survival, but an art form practiced by the sagacious seafarers who spent their lives deciphering the ocean's enigmas. Historians still argue whether any specific culture among the Phoenicians, Polynesians, or Vikings had mastered this art better than the others. Each laid claim to innovations that turned the unpredictable open sea into a familiar territory. Did you ever think clouds could be so insightful? Sailors watched them diligently, learning to predict weather patterns based on their interactions with the skies. Feather-like cirrus clouds suggested fair weather, while thickening cumulonimbus formations screamed of impending storms. You imagine that one quirkier sighting might have even led to the rule of thumb: red sky at night, sailor's delight; red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. If the winds failed or were contrary, currents played their vital role in guiding ships. These sailors, through sheer trial and observation, noted how particular currents could carry them swiftly along certain routes. They learned to ride these oceanic highways much like a surfer catching a wave, letting the energy of the Earth's own movements propel them forward. These navigational feats, however, drop-kick modern logic into the dark ages, relying more on intuition and ancient wisdom than scientific precision. It is precisely this improvisational spirit and daring gambit that makes the seafaring adventures of ages past an endless font of fascination and respect. Oh, and I can't help but picture you trying to navigate from your couch using nothing but the night sky, though perhaps it would be more advantageous for planning a camping trip than crossing the Atlantic. But the spirit's there, isn't it? The realization that beneath the fun of navigation lay a very real peril at every corner of the journey nudges one towards sincere appreciation of how much those voyages demanded. As you continue along this voyage, remember that the route on which ancient sailors journeyed wasn't just waterlogged territory, but a living tapestry, constantly rewritten with new experiences, challenges, and minor miracles that kept them moving forward. The anticipation of landfall, the sweet sight of a distant port, was so cherished that it's akin to finding an oasis in a desert of relentless blue, bringing hope and the promise of safety to those aboard. So, next time you glance up at the night sky, think of the sea beneath it, of wanderers guided by shimmering points of light. Perhaps you'll wax philosophically about connection, inspiration, and guidance under the stars. And while you do, feel yourself drifting along these timeless currents, lulled gently by the thought of mariners who once looked out on the same skies and saw their not-so-distant future brightly spelled out across the vault of heaven. As you sail on through this exploration of the past, you begin to realize that for ancient sailors, the journey across the seas was as much about the unseen and the inexplicable as it was about the tangible and the known. It wasn't just about defeating the tempest or navigating with stars. It was about appeasing the forces that they believed governed these elements. superstition and myth intertwined with their daily lives like rigging through a ship's mast. The ocean has always had a touch of the mysterious, and to ancient sailors it was a realm of gods and monsters. You can almost hear whispers of an old sailor's tale, spun with knowing eyes and a voice that conveys both caution and adventure. Neptune, the Roman god of the sea, was a central figure in these narratives, his mood swings believed to directly impact the success of a voyage. Irked Neptune might summon storms, or awaken sea creatures to ensure that audacious sailors paid respect before venturing across his watery domain. You chuckle softly, imagining a sailor meticulously avoiding cracks on the deck, suspecting bad luck perhaps, yet fully committed to the ancient rituals passed down through generations. Many ships carried talismans, such as bearing seals of Poseidon or Neptune, hoping these charms would curry favour with deities that controlled the capricious winds and waves. Then there were the creatures that inhabited these myths, blending eerily well with the realities of the sea. Sailors were prone to tale-telling, and it didn't take long for their descriptions of sea journeys to be peppered with mentions of krakens lurking beneath the waters, or the alluring, treacherous call of sirens meant to lure them to their doom. These stories weren't just fantastic narratives. They served as cautionary tales, reminding sailors of the perils beneath the ocean's surface, real or imagined. Even oath-taking often had a superstitious slant. Sailors were highly regarded for their expertise, but might be looked upon with suspicion as they commanded rites and rituals almost priestly in nature. Crossing the equator, for instance, warranted a ceremony of initiation for those who had never before crossed the imaginary line. This ritual, known as a line-crossing ceremony, might involve mock trials and rites of passage, intended to both bond the crew and appease mighty Neptune himself. Quirky? Yes. Ineffective? Historians still argue whether such ceremonies had any tangible effect on morale or the divine forces allegedly at play. The binding of superstition and ocean travel wasn't just limited to rituals. It extended into every aspect of life aboard a ship. Whistling into the wind was discouraged lest it call up a storm, while killing an albatross, a bird believed to carry the spirits of seamen past, was considered a dire omen, as famously illustrated in Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. There were mermaid sightings galore, sometimes interpreted with skepticism, other times used to rationalize unusual navigation decisions when captains were questioned on their audacity in decision-making. Interestingly, these beliefs also encapsulated a sense of order in an environment without clear rules. They were the invisible manual by which sailors knew how to operate among the vast unpredictability of the ocean's whims. Whether out of fear or devout belief, these sea-bound travellers clung to their maritime folklore as warmly and certainly as any lifeline. The irony is not lost when you think about modern-day equivalents. Tucking a lucky charm into your pocket, crossing fingers during moments of suspense, or mumbling a quick prayer before an unpredictably tough choice. It's a reminder of the universality of human nature, unchanging through the centuries even as the tools and scales of our challenges have evolved. As your imaginary ship ploughs through the waves, cutting a sleek path through salty spray with these ancient beliefs whispering in its wake, it's apparent how myth and reality mesh fluidly on this stretch of the ocean blue. You're getting used to this. You've transitioned from being an observer to a participant in this nautical escapade, floating through a tapestry woven with threads of folklore as enduring as the sea itself. Just as modern mariners respect the vast, unpredictable ocean, so too did their ancestors perceive the water as an entity alive with stories, breathing its ancient life into each rip page of history. As you continue your nocturnal voyage, you delve deeper into the nuanced craft of ancient maritime weather forecasting. Picture yourself in an era long before satellites or meteorological maps, where sensing a storm's approach required a keen eye and intuition woven from years of seafaring lore. Imagine standing at the ship's helm, scanning the sky with a weathered gaze trained to read the signs that others might overlook. In ancient times, sailors functioned as their own meteorologists, relying on the sea's whispers and uncanny signals from the natural world. Your proverbial eye is drawn to the sky, where the tableau of clouds acts as a barometer. Wispy cirrus clouds, often heralds of fair weather, might signal a mariner to press ahead with optimism. In contrast, darkening cumulonimbus clouds with their anvil-shaped tops loomed as dire warnings, prompting shifts in a ship's course to sidestep an impending deluge. You begin to understand the deep interconnection between seafarers and their environment. Mastery over natural weather signals wasn't just a skill, it was a lifeline. The sailor's adage, "Mackerel scales and mare's tails make tall ships carry low sails," springs to mind. An early weather proverb warning of approaching storms. It's the oceanic equivalent of your favorite weather app alerting you to an incoming squall. A centuries-old insight stitched seamlessly into conscious decisions on luffing or reefing sails. Historians still debate the extent of accuracy these seafarers achieved with their weather lore. Some argue that these methods were purely coincidental, while others insist that long-term observations yielded practical, if rudimentary, methods of predicting the tempestuous moods of the waves and sky. Oh, the humour spiked through all this seriousness. A cloud consultant, if you will. There's something giggle-worthy in picturing an ancient mariner like amateur meteorologist, earnestly peering at cloud formations, with the responsibility of guiding the ship clear of Poseidon's ill-tempered disposition. You muse on the interplay between science and superstition, as the crew turned to less scientific methods when clouds grew, and wind changes remained unpredictable. Prayer to the patron saints of sailors, those spiritual intermediaries believed to placate the storm gods, was not uncommon. St. Elmo's fire, a phenomenon displaying a blue or violet glow, sometimes witnessed during thunderstorm activity at sea, was credited to effectiveness as an omen of good fortune, believed to announce the presence of such a protector. It was this dual reliance on both observation and belief that saw mariners through the fiercest tempests. Even the ocean's birds offered telling cues. Higher-than-us-wall flights of seabirds suggested turbulent weather drawing near, a feathered harbinger teaching you to read avian routes like nautical warning signs. You picture the scene. A sailor runs his hands over the ship's railings, coaxing secrets from its timbers about forthcoming gusty gales purely through the temperature of the wood beneath fingertips. The ocean itself played its part, revealing possible changes in weather through its shifting hues and textures. A glassy, eerily calm sea might indicate that a storm system was gathering strength beneath the horizon. Perhaps a sailor running his hands through the water, learning its temperament just as sommelier deciphers subtleties in wine, offered up permissible forewarning to brace for impact or enjoy smooth sailing. The dance with Mother Nature was a precise choreography, a blend of measured guesses, rooted traditions, and urgent superstition. Each prediction was a gamble, a heady toss aided by insight gained from years of reading nature's book, sometimes cooked up by a brew of recycled stories collected from harbours scattered across their maritime world. Accompanying these weather vettings, you find that sailors were immersed in ritualized preparation when faced with ominous weather signs. Likewise, preventive measures, such as battening down hatches and securing loose cargo, became an instinctive symphony of synchronized movements, performed to an unseen choral arrangement, enjoining all hands aboard to stash, tie, and fasten with deft speed. Your imaginary hands gripped the ship's railings tightly, reflecting on how these wisdom-steeped practices culminated in tangible shifts in strategy. No small feat without sophisticated instruments to confirm, deny, or outweigh old sea instinct. It is the triumph of human observation over immeasurable hardship that blesses your journey through storm-swept chronicles. In this fisherman's tale, split between rain and shine, weathering a stormy sea was not merely about survival, but a testimony of learned perseverance on an ocean highway ablaze with history's liquid pages. Whether the shift back to fair skies marked a divine reprieve or a credit to a cloud gazer's art, the successful prediction of weather at sea embodies humanity's enduring dance with the elements, a tale spun across time like the twirl of a ship's wheel. As you sail forward into the realm of preparation, the heartbeat of the ancient sailors thrums with a mix of anticipation and determination. Imagine the ship before you, not just a vessel of wood and sail, but a floating bastion fortified against the capriciousness of the sea. Each board, rope, and nail serves as both sword and shield in a battle against the elements, an emblem of the mariner's cunning resolve to outwit nature's fury. Let's delve into how these seafaring adventurers prepared for their briny skirmishes with stormy seas. The preparation was intricate, both physical and mental, transforming crew and ship into a single cohesive unit ready to face the raging storms or unexpected challenges that lay ahead. As a sailor, preparation is tantamount to survival, and this was a truth acknowledged as surely as the salt tang in the air. On deck, the sailors go about their tasks with steady hands and alert eyes. The ropes are coiled and secured, their fibres rough beneath sailor calluses, each knot a testament to countless lessons learned amid flapping sails and howling winds. Linen sails are hauled and reefed, reduced to minimize wind pressure, always checking for signs of wear, as were the tools and implements, ever scrutinized for potential weaknesses that Poseidon might exploit. Down below, the heart of the ship, the hold, is a mosaic of stowed goods and essential supplies. Cargo is expertly lashed down, a pragmatic jigsaw puzzle bound securely to prevent shifting that could transform timbers and crates into untamed projectiles amid a swell. Barrel tops are double-checked for secure seals, their contents food, fresh water, and maybe a cheeky secret stash of rum preserved like treasures. The crew themselves undergo a transformation, readying their minds as much as their ship. In the brief lull before a storm, you feel a shift in energy among them as they double-check every line, secure every hatch, and mentally brace through whispered oaths or silent prayers. A nod to those who walk the fine line between skepticism and ready faith. A seasoned sailor might exchange a quick word with his comrades, sharing unknown advice or comfort, a subtle reminder that camaraderie is itself armor against the sea's trials. Did you know some sailors prepared themselves with the less orthodox method of sea shanties echoing through the ship's quarters? These rhythmic call and responsive songs synthesized morale with muscle, synchronizing actions as they readied to face the brunt of whatever the skies dared to throw at them. Plus, a little bit of humor. Picturing singing your way through a hurricane somehow adds a spirited, albeit shaky, sense of bravado to the scene. In their rituals, they also looked to symbols of protection, such as crosses or vessels blessed by rituals, hoping to invoke favor with divine oceanic forces. Talismans are discreetly tucked into pockets or hung around necks, the embodiment of the spiritual shield that bolsters courage against the roar of coming seas. When the wind begins to groan more ominously, the ship itself becomes a living entity under strain, timber creaking like whispered encouragement, powered by invisible fists in the form of gale-force winds. The transformations that began in quiet preparation suddenly spring to life, like the clashing rattles of battle commencing. Despite the preparation and precaution, a sense of vulnerability persists, one as vast and unfathomable as the ocean itself. Once every conceivable preparation is complete and every man is in place, the reality is stark. The control they have over their lives rests on their skills, preparation, and a bit of luck, as the sailors experience both apprehension and excitement. This timeless story of sailors and their ships, choreographed against an open sea, draws you deeper into the heart of this age-old voyaging saga. Your senses attuned to the pulse of their preparation against ocean's persistence. You fashion an enduring fabric spun from equal parts human endeavor and raw, indomitable spirit. The sailors didn't just prepare to survive. They fashioned themselves into avengers, who drew from nature's lessons while fostering advancements that seeds modern maritime adventure. Feeling the blend of wooden resilience beneath your feet and an untamed ancient wind around your shoulders, you press on, sailing ever forward. The crests of waves glitter like scattered jewels under the midday sun, as you turn your attention to another essential aspect of life aboard these ancient vessels: sustenance. In an environment where the sea's bounty is as unpredictable as its storms, the diet of ancient sailors becomes a fascinating topic, ripe with both practicality and peculiarities. As we venture below deck, where the heart of the ship's supplies are stored, the importance of a sturdy, nutritious diet is palpable. Far from the luxuries of modern food preservation, ancient mariners relied on simple, shelf-stable provisions, often bland, but vital for survival. You can almost taste the salty tang of preserved meats and feel the crunch of hardtack beneath your teeth. Hardtack, those infamously tough biscuity squares, were a staple. They're quintessentially unappetizing, sure, but they stored well and provided necessary calories. Sailors sometimes lovingly referred to them as tooth dullers, or, more humorously, as molar breakers. The diet was painstakingly simple. Salted fish were a primary protein source, laying like treasure in barrels piled high within the hold. Prepared to last months at sea, these fish filled bellies while simultaneously reminding sailors of home-cooked meals and fresh sea breezes from familiar shores. Speaking of humour, imagining sailors scrubbing off the excess salt almost resembles an amateur chef, overly keen to prove themselves in a culinary escapade. Interestingly, the monotonous meals were often infused with a bit of creativity. Prone to finding ways to break the humdrum monotony, sailors might soak the hardtack in water or ale to soften them up, transmuting an otherwise mundane biscuit into a palatable pudding with just enough imagination. But nutrition was not just about satisfying hunger. It was critical for fending off scurvy, the bane of many a sailor. The lack of fresh fruit and vegetables on long voyages left crews vulnerable to this vitamin C deficiency disease. Historians still debate the exact timeline for when citrus fruits became a standard part of a sailor's diet, but you're not imagining things if you suddenly crave a nice juicy orange. It was later in history that lemons and limes became the go-to prevention, long before vitamin supplements laid on modern shelves. You notice, too, that certain voyages played host to spontaneous culinary ingenuity. Catching fish became both a pastime and necessity, with impromptu fishing lines cast from decks. When successful, the fresh catch provided a welcome break from their usual dull fare, the sizzle and aroma of cooking fish attracting all hands topside. When the ship's cook wasn't charming the crew with modest flourishes, morale was buoyed by traditions. These culinary efforts served as a reminder of home, introducing a spice of life and a sense of unity aboard the sometimes claustrophobically tight quarters. Food is, after all, universally known to create memories, good and bad, and on a ship these are memories writ large. Alcohol, too, found its place in the sailor's diet. A ration of grog, a mix of rum and water, became customary on many ships, providing not only refreshment, but a brief touch of camaraderie. It's fascinating to think that these few gulpfuls might have fueled lively stories or jesting songs as the sun dipped below the horizon, much like a watered-down pirate fantasy. Nutritional advancements came painfully slowly, often pushed forward out of necessity and desperation, rather than a fine-tuned understanding of dietetics. Yet the resilience of these sailors, in their resourcefulness and stoic acceptance of such basic fare, underlines a gritty determination not just to survive, but to thrive under the capricious whims of the sea. You can imagine sitting down to the age-old ritual of shared meals with fellow sailors, thinking together about distant family customs or future shore holidays during the quiet hours. Here, aboard this vessel of old, you partake in an ancient banquet, emblematic of adventure, a staple rooted in the rhythm of wave and wind. Thus you sail on, buoyed ounce by modest ounce, on the spoils of the sea and the grit of hearty meals, connecting with lives lived at sea, complemented with tangy wit and weather-etched spirit. As the ocean stretches out endlessly before you, shimmering under the sun's warm gaze, your thoughts drift toward one of the ancient mariner's most pressing concerns: fresh water. The limitless sea beneath you presents a cruel paradox. Its brine is undrinkable, yet it stretches as far as the eye can see. Imagine sailing for weeks, ever seeking that precious elixir, fresh water. Back in the bowels of the ship, the cargo hold holds barrels of water, each sloshing with the promise of life. These are carefully rationed, with each drop a reminder of its value. This finite supply was jealously guarded, and the allocation of water became a daily dance of conservation and necessity. You can almost hear the creak of the barrel lids as crew members dole out measured portions, mindful of the journeys still to come. With no desalination technology at their disposal and no magical fountains aboard, ancient seafarers had to devise innovative methods to quench their thirst while surrounded by undrinkable salt water. Rain was a sailor's greatest ally, and a fresh downpour meant more than a brief reprieve. It was liquid gold. Imagine the sudden burst of energy rippling through the crew as rain clouds gathered overhead, signalling a reprieve for parched throats and dry lips. When rain did come, the crew danced to a familiar tune, quickly spreading out sails and any available catchments to collect as much water as possible. You can picture the sails repurposed to guide rain into barrels, a flurry of activity amidst the hosannas of a clean drink. A quirky, ephemeral chance to participate in what one might call a non-stop hydration challenge. Relying on rainwater alone, however, could quickly transform famine into a serendipitous feast. One rainstorm could change everything, or nothing. Thus, resources were stretched, and cunning alternatives were sought. On some ships, condensation traps, cloth or sheets capturing the moisture of night air and morning dew were employed to deliver droplets of sustenance. But what happens when you're far from friendly showers? Incredibly, they even toyed with early desalination methods, experimenting with distilling salt water using crude tools. Stone Age, maybe, as rough as sandpaper. But you might even find chuckles imagining the Captain MacGyver of that era, fashioning rudimentary contractions to squeeze a few precious sips from the waves. The use of tropical fruits when available also proved critical in this quest for hydration. The sailors discovered the succulence of coconuts, packed with hydrating liquids and easily transportable. Their hard shells meant they could endure the rough sea life, dangling like pendants from the rafters, providing refreshing sustenance and nutritious meat to complement the sailors' simple diet. However, the challenge of finding fresh water held philosophical weight. Ancient sailors understood that the seas, their fortress and their prison, demanded respect. They were captivated by the dance of reliance and watchful prudence which dictated the suspense-laden equation of provision versus thirst, a relentless balancing act as finely tuned as any orchestral piece. As days rolled into weeks, frugality and ingenuity defined the rules. Mindful of every drop, the importance of fresh water became woven into the narrative of survival. The knowledge of water's precariousness accompanied each sunset. It was echoed in the hushed conversations and reinforced as a ceremonial conviction should it rain. Water scarcity on voyages burrowed its way into their rituals, functioning as both existential meditation and practical concern in equal measure. Challenges, both literal and symbolic, crystallized around this hermetic reserve, echoing every tumultuous splash or steady, gentle ripple lapping at the ship's walls. As you stand at the ship's edge, pondering the ocean's tease, you see how ingrained the significance of water was in the continuous story of ocean survival. These enduring lessons irradiate the ancient mariner's tale, an endeavor that sails quietly through rainbows of patience and resourcefulness, buoying their endless horizons. Water in hand, a tangible need watermarked by imagination and hard-earned experience, was poetry distilled, the simple purity of drinking and the age-old human drive to chart a course towards survival at any cost, turning each discovered drop into an ocean of hope. As the quest for the quenching elixir carries forth, so too does this journey into the heart of maritime history sail on, etched in waves and water. As you sail further into this exploration of life aboard ancient ships, your attention shifts to a subject that underscores the dynamics of sea life: the social hierarchies and roles aboard these vessels. Imagine yourself immersed in a floating microcosm, where each person has a clear role to play, and the success of the voyage is tied inextricably to how well this hierarchy functions. On board, the captain reigns supreme, a charismatic authority whose decisions could fuel the ship's success or spell doom. His role as navigator, leader, and sometimes disciplinarian required a deft hand and steel-trap mind. Directly below him, the first mate executes the captain's commands, functioning as the ship's executive officer and maintaining order among the crew. Until the modern era of satellite communication and shipping technology would lessen this responsibility, the captain was truly the vessel's linchpin, projected to be part naval commander, part philosopher, and sometimes even part psychologist. In the middle of the hierarchy, you'll find the seasoned sailors, salty and knowledgeable, a core group of stalwarts whose expertise, honed over years, served as both the ship's backbone and repository of lore. These were the ones whose finesse with ropes and sails ensured the vessel could dance with the wind or defy it with equal skill. To sailors new to the life, these veterans often became mentors, imparting lessons in survival as ancient as the sea itself. At the base of this maritime society were cabin boys and new recruits, often nicknamed as greenies. These individuals were typically young and inexperienced, earning their sea legs through menial tasks that kept the ship functioning smoothly. From cleaning the deck to assisting in the galley or fetching for the senior crew, their labour-intensive roles were vital for the ship's overall operation. They were the proverbial rookies, absorbing, much like sponges, not just orders barked at them, but rich, anecdotal life lessons as well. You can picture the daily duties creating a rhythm on board. Swabbing the decks, polishing brass, and tidying ropes become grounding rituals, providing structure and continuity in an environment governed by unpredictable seas and fleeting skies. Within this structure, daily routines were a subtle yet powerful means of enforcing hierarchy, a vessel's internal clock dictating laborious cycles around which every sailor's duties turned. Within the nuances of this ranked order, camaraderie and conflict coexisted like tidal forces. Strict rules maintained discipline, but didn't snuff out the camaraderie forged amidst mariners leaning on one another, bound by daily toils and shared risks. Mealtimes, for instance, often saw a breaking down of barriers. where stories flowed as freely as the occasional tankard of grog, and where conversations transcended hierarchy, if only temporarily, earning a bit of shared levity in the shadow of stiff collars. Of course, there was always an element of humour, laced into the daily fabric of shipboard life. Picture the way sailors, often prone to light teasing and jibes, might poke fun at the new recruits' flubs, nothing like a bit of laughter stemming from tying a slip knot instead of a proper sailor's knot. Yet friction wasn't uncommon. Sailors who didn't subscribe to the hierarchy or who stepped outside the agreed-upon social order could sow discontent. Rules and boundaries, as much as they were upheld, could foster envy or animosity in close quarters, particularly when the sea stirred moods as deeply as currents. The very element of unpredictability meant these challenges were part of the social experiment, ultimately demonstrating the persistence of human dynamics mirrored on a suspended brine. Even as they handled their structured lives, sailors carved out personal connections, bonds as strong as the most stalwart sea knots, forming a tribe among the waves. The hierarchies weren't just scaffolds of governance, but a testament to the human need for order within chaos, ripe with echoes of leadership and co-responsibility. It's not too dissimilar from a high seas family, an algal cavalcade where unity reinforced strength, laced with respect, rugged understanding, and the invaluable lifeline known as teamwork. As you sail within this sea of social ties, it becomes clear how these ancient maritime communities were reflections of society back on shore. Every ship carried its distinct hierarchical flavours, a weave of old salts and callow sailors populating human stories built on ocean's vast stages. Such maritime society, suspended upon rolling seas, fulfilled its promise, leading you to ponder, perhaps with a touch of humour, how today's office hierarchy happens to mirror its sea-bound ancestors. Strong winds carry this realization forward, unanchoring marvellous tales etched in humanity's watery wanderlust. As your journey continues through the salted paths of ancient seafaring, the winds shift, ushering in tales of the mysterious and aromatic cargoes carried across the world's oceans. Picture the scene. The hold of the ship, a cavernous belly crammed full of marvels, each box and barrel containing scents and stories from lands near and far. These ancient vessels were not merely machines of exploration, but conduits for trade, spreading the fragrances of cultures across deserts of salt water. Let's delve into the heart of these cargoes, where exotic spices like cinnamon and cloves, delicate silks reverberating with stories, and bold dyes that evoked vibrant histories became the prized possessions ferrying across continents. Their aroma wafts through the air like a spectral storyteller, transporting everyone on board to distant shores. The scent of spices was sometimes so potent it lingered long after their unloading, a fragrant ghost imprinted on the wooden walls of the ship itself. Imagine cinnamon's warming sweetness mingling with the sharp bite of pepper or the heady perfume of clove, releasing mists of far-off markets into the salty air. Each whiff carried with it the promises of profit and tales yet to be spun. From Asia to Europe, these aromatic tales played out on decks that surveyed the world's richest exchanges. These spices were worth their weight in gold, so much so that their aromatic presence wasn't purely pragmatic. They became symbols of status, wealth, and the power wielded by those who controlled their distribution. Merchants and explorers alike risked perilous journeys to claim their share of these coveted goods, each spice a key in an empire-building game where aroma and fortune walked hand in hand. Yet it wasn't just spices seeking fair winds. There were textiles and patterns vividly recounting tales of the weavers, tales from fertile lands. You envision the rough hands of sailors, accustomed to rope and canvas, gingerly handling bolts of silk far gentler than the sturdy sails that loft above. The silk, imbued with colours that seem to dance beneath the sun and moon, tells tales on threads woven with care. Opulent hues of scarlets, indigos, and royal blues, their vibrancy as much a treasure as the silken touch itself, were sought after by nobles who saw such fineries as a ticket into an elevated realm of society. Besides the aroma and soft touch of commerce, there was something hauntingly poetic about these transportation endeavours. As each ship pulled into port, unloading its bounty into the eager hands of merchants, the air itself was infused with narratives of lands unseen, each parcel containing echoes of the cultures and stories they'd passed through. Oh, the whimsy apples of delight found their place too. The sailors' side bets laden with monkey nuts, oranges and coconuts, bringing home tales as varied and delightful as the treasures they nurtured. Their presence, interspersed among grander goods, became coveted souvenirs of the regions traversed during their travels, ensconced memories of places otherwise unreachable for many. Despite the allure, there was always the risk of piracy waiting beyond the horizon, eager to claim such lush cargo. Any ship carrying these valuable commodities required their crew to be ever watchful of marauders masked beneath tattered flags, shadows that sought to cleave riches to their whims or their gold-toothed glee. History leaves scholars debating which culture mastered this blended transport of story and substance. Was it the Greeks who perfected maritime trade, or the pioneering Phoenicians whose far-ranging desires led them into uncharted waters? Whichever it was, these endeavours to ferry treasures across vast aquatic expanses refined the craft of boat-building, trade negotiations and storytelling alike. As you ponder this on the deck's edge, surrounded by wind-kissed silhouettes of ships brimming with hidden treasures, you appreciate how these voyages became the world's connective tissue. These aromatic tales, far from mere ledger entries, were the lifeblood of a growing global consciousness, a fragrant herald of cultures colliding on the open waves, bringing new flavours and patterns home as offerings to a world in bloom. Each ship that glided across the waters carried a human cargo of dreams and ambitions, sprinkled with spices, textiles and precious dyes. These small rocking empires sailed beneath the watchful gaze of stars, propelled by both their canvas wings and destinies bound up in every chestnut and clove. Drifting ever forward, buoyed by the whispered wind, their journey continues even now. An ancient narrative, written on the ever-changing pages of maritime history. As the sun dips below the watery horizon, casting a golden glow over your maritime world, your thoughts anchor onto the essential tools that ancient sailors wielded to traverse these vast oceans. These seafaring marvels were equipped with instruments that, while basic by today's standards, formed the bedrock of maritime navigation and operation. Standing on the ship's deck, you can almost feel the tangible textures of these tools, the rough wood of the sextant resting snugly in your hand, or the burnished brass of an astrolabe which glints in the dying light. These tools were both unsuspecting and indispensable, grounding the sailor in both art and science. The sextant, a newcomer compared to the astrolabe, remains a symbol of ingenuity. It captures the essence of simplicity at its best, allowing sailors to measure the angle between any two visible objects, most commonly the horizon and a certainty. Yet, in earlier times, the astrolabe was the primary tool for making such heavenly connections. With its discs rotating to reveal the sky's mysteries, it marked the passage between exploration and calculation. Not everyone, however, finds this ancient instrument perfectly suited. Some sailors and historians found its precision as inflexible as a siren's charm, a debate, persuasive, yet unyielding. Then there is the lead line, a simple yet critical device, more pedestrian but no less crucial. With knots tied at fathom-length intervals, it functioned as a rudimentary depth meter, an early sonar for seafarers, keeping the ship from running aground where maps hesitated, or would, should they suddenly exist. Another tool in their nautical cache was the traverse board, offering sailors a way to record and remember their course through arrays of pegs and holes, powering their inner compasses as the salty swells sought to disorient them. It's a marvel of charts and lines without electronics, a manual memory that directed the ship like a terrestrial mind map writ large upon the ocean waves. You can almost hear the clank of metal and wood, feel the grit of salt, and the lapping insistence of water at the hull as sailors consulted these essentials, pittance not in value but indispensable in function. The synergy of seasoned skill and primal toolmanship crafted the language of the sea. At the heart of these endeavours stood the compass. Although its full brilliance came into use later, it fundamentally reshaped navigation. Once introduced, it filled many logs with whispers of newfound confidence, guiding journeys across fog and storm, where stars declined to light the path. These tools, woven into every sailor's journey, carried their own personalities. The mariner's skills were thus intertwined, not just with his mates or the ship's integrity, but with familiar, inanimate companions shared across generations. Each device, simple yet profound in its own right, held the ability to unweave the horizon at day's first light, or provide assurance amidst night's imposing black tapestry. So respected were these tools that they often had lives of their own, handed down from one seasoned sailor to the next, each carrying the etchings of journeys past. Imagine the weight of history in an astrolabe's curve, or a compass's steady pivot, witnesses to countless voyages writ large upon the endless canvas of human exploration. With the ship as a lively assembly of ingenuity and keen observation, each device connected crew to the older rhythms of tides and stars. These components, while far less sophisticated than modern equivalents, were the technological lifeboats relied upon by those who dared cross unforgiving seas in search of trade, exploration, or simple wonder. As these tools are stowed below, you realize they played their part in guiding humanity across unknown oceans, whispering stories of innovative strides sewn into the sea's tapestry, a tale as eternal as the stars they relied on. The sun's final glimmer closes the day's navigation, yet the voyage continues, driven by both history's handheld technologies and the enduring quest that compels forward movement across time's oceanic expanse. As you peer into the depths of ancient naval lore, surreal tales of sea monsters and enormous ocean dwellers drift into view. These stories swirl amid the real and mythical, becoming a vibrant chapter in the narrative of maritime adventure. Picture yourself on deck as dusk descends, the whispering winds merging with tales recounted over years by countless sailors navigating under vast, mysterious skies. For ancient mariners, the ocean was not just a highway for exploration, but a realm inhabited by enigmatic creatures that defied explanation. Imagine the awe and fear of glimpsing a massive whale breaking through the ocean's surface. Its immense bulk considered evidence of gargantuan leviathans lurking in the endless depths. Little surprise that tales of monstrous krakens capable of dragging entire vessels underwater resonated so deeply with crewmen whose lives relied on the whims of such titanic forces of nature. You can almost see anxious sailors pointing wide-eyed into the abyss, recounting episodes of colossal tentacles spiraling up from the briny fathoms, a fleeting fear amplified by the ocean's vastness. Each disturbance on the water became potential proof of cryptic creatures, where truth mingled freely with imagination, turning lugubrious cascades overboard into epic yarns spun nightly among the crew. There were legitimate concerns, though. What today we understand as pods of docile whales, dolphins, and other cetaceans were occasionally misinterpreted as fearsome entities. Take, for instance, a pod of sperm whales with their distinctive humpbacked forms and expelling spouts akin to the charming yet foreboding faeries of the waves. To encounter such massive creatures firsthand was a reminder of the ocean's power boast, compelling reverence and awe in equal measure. Historians continue to unravel why certain folklore persisted across centuries and regions, and why these tales remained so prevalent. Was it a reflection of sailors seeking meaning among turbulent waves? Or perhaps a narrative to entertain and caution the wider seafaring community? Either way, the stories were swapped, meshed and exaggerated, becoming inseparable components of maritime culture. Beyond fearsome krakens and ambiguous sea spirits, there also lived tales of fascination and wistfulness. Mermaids, with their charming songs and irresistible allure, occupied the minds of many a sailor. They offered a glimpse into a life unchainable by both ship or shore, painted with the delicate brush of longing. For all their captivating beauty and promise, they were as much a metaphor as anything else, an embodiment of desire and peril disguised as sweetness on the surf. Interwoven amid these fantastical musings were more scientific aspects, such as the impressive navigational feats of migrating sea creatures, understood today as seasoned oceanographers. Sea turtles, for instance, elegantly crossing grand distances, still defy full explanation, while seabirds seem almost divinely guided. These supernatural navigators captivate with the same resonance, capturing humanity's unceasing fascination with the uncharted expanse. Scholarly debates continue, surrounding whether mariners' reports of phenomena like bioluminescent algae or phosphorescent planktonic blooms may have added to otherworldly impressions. It's tempting to visualize the awe-striking glow lighting up a ship's path, gorgeous streaks casting vibrant hues across midnight water, a sort of sea-born aurora that echoed mysteries ensconced beneath rolling tides. The tales born from these observations are as enchanting now as they were then, captivating our imaginations, reminding us of storytelling's innate power to fill the vast unknown with possibility. These yarns, lush with exaggeration and courage, still lend hope that maybe, just maybe, there remains a touch of the tantalizing unfamiliar, a glint of gold amid salt foam sparkle. with the night ascending over your ship on this mythical sea journey, informed by stories that linger like echoes. You draw insight from ever-reaching waves, where time tangles with truth. This melding of maritime fantasy with exploratory fact is part of an eternal weave shaping humanity's seafaring spirit. A ghostly spindrift that hems the border between knowledge and wonder, forever glistening across every sailor's heart. As the ship continues its journey through the expanses of salt and spray, a warm scene unfolds on deck that many might overlook. The presence of animals aboard. In the intricate fabric of maritime life, the unlikely roles of animals at sea emerge as a curious yet essential strand. These creatures were more than mere passengers. They became valued companions, serving practical purposes and bringing warmth to an otherwise gruff existence on the high seas. It's easy to imagine the ship as a sanctuary for a small troop of animals, each playing its part in the floating community. Cats, for instance, roamed the decks with quiet grace, their velvet paws padding silently between rope coils and masts. They were more than mascots. These felines were frontline soldiers in the war against rats and mice. These vermin, if left unchecked, would feast on precious foodstuffs and gnaw at wooden hulls and rope, threatening the ship's very survival. So the ship's cat became a cherished member of the crew, with little shaggy forms curled up in hammocks or perched like kings on the captain's chair. Then there were the dogs, loyal and protective, bringing a touch of canine camaraderie to life on the waves. Their roles varied, from steadfast companions to enthusiastic playmates, and sometimes even guards, alerting sailors to approaching lands or unexpected visitors. Imagine these rambunctious creatures racing across the deck, tails wagging in celebration of a successful day's sail, bonding the crew with spirited antics and shared affections. The quirkier and delightful side of maritime animal tales also involves pigs and chickens, which could be found jostling for a stable spot amid the flotsam of daily ship life. They were, after all, a source of fresh meat and eggs, vital for supplementing shipboard provisions. Yet these animals lent more than their sustenance. They brought charm and levity to otherwise tedious days, occasionally humorous distractions that resonated through the groaning boards of the floating vessel. Animals also held roles of deep symbolism. Take, for instance, the albatross, whose presence was regarded as an omen of good fortune. Formidable birds of strength and stamina, they embodied the sailor's own longing for safe passage and clear skies. To see one glide gracefully past was to feel a mystical assurance, a bond as tenuous but real as the wind itself. The flip side, of course, was that harming such creatures was akin to inviting misfortune to come knocking, reminding again of the delicate dance between sailor belief and circumstance. Historians spin a bit of a tale themselves, debating whether the reliance on these animals for companionship was more than a necessity. Could it be that alongside pragmatic reasons, these creatures provided soothing reminders of home, curbing the isolation that came with oceanic vastness? With each meow, bark, or lowing sound, they kindled flickers of nostalgia, offering a link to the lands from whence both sailor and creature had come. Yet, even in their benefit, the companionship of animals spoke to the fundamental human need for connection. In an era defined by vast, challenging seas and formidable journeys, these animals resonated with the same life force pulsing in the hearts of the sailors. Their presence, side by side with the crew, reinforced a sense of family within the framework of rigging and salty winds. Imagine these scenes unfolding across the decks as you cradle in the crooks of these histories, moments of human necessity and reprieve, interwoven through countless nautical miles. In a world of routine hardship and sweeping vistas, these animals lent laughter and warmth, lightening the burden inscribed upon toil. They symbolized the humanity at play beneath each sailor's exterior, ensconced as part of the epoch-defining wanderlust and wonder brought forth on gilded wave, shared breath by breath between creature and crewmate. And so, your ship sails onward through the night-laden sea, a world that persistently turns and churns in timeless cycles. For every barking exchange, balletic feline leap or ancestral tale credited to creatures gracing ocean-borne passage, each one carries a humble reminder, flaring across horizon after horizon, that life at sea, in all its forms, winks playfully toward the beauty of existence both shared and savoured. As your vessel continues its ethereal glide across the shimmering night sea, you find solace in another enchanting element of seafaring life, the music and sounds that play a crucial role in nurturing morale on board. For sailors enveloped by the vastness of the ocean and years away from familiar shores, music becomes a lifeline, a unifying force that weaves together rhythm, harmony, and community against the backdrop of rolling waves and unpredictable skies. Imagine being surrounded by the gentle hum of the ocean, punctuated occasionally by the distant cries of seabirds. The lulling sounds are suddenly lifted by the melodic strains of sea shanties echoing across the ship's deck. These work songs, intricate in their simplicity, provided both a beat and a balm for weary sailors. With call and responsive verses designed to synchronize efforts, they became an integral part of maritime labor, whether hoisting sails, heaving line, or rowing together. The sea shanties are more than music. They are stories in themselves, filled with tales of adventure, longing, and humor. As the lead shantyman raises his voice, the crew joins in, responding with a chorus that transcends the individual, forging a strong bond among the ship's community. Through music, each sailor's heart beats in time with the task at hand, making hard labor feel like dance steps in an unsung ballet directed by the ocean's whim. But the tunes aren't limited to labor. Imagine sailors gathering after a day of toil, huddled under the velvet canopy of the sky, sharing songs that speak of home, love, and companionship. The hoarse strains of fiddles and accordions dance atop the sighing waves, their cheerful notes weaving together tales of distant ports and vivid recollections of streets left behind but never forgotten. The sailor's music becomes a surrogate hearth, a musical thread that connects sea and land in a universal melody of continuity. It might bring a giggle to imagine the sound resembling a group of ambitious shower-time musicians, performers all the same despite who they might disturb in their watery world. For each sea note plucks at threads of laughter and quote-unquote musicality. The resonance for them brought more than just volume. It held respite. Historians still debate the extent to which music was formally integrated into shipboard life. Was it always present, or rather an occasional indulgence? What is clear is that it became a cherished tradition, brimming with rich cultural exchanges. As ships travelled to distant shores, they didn't just trade goods, but influences as well. Melodies mingled, borrowing notes and lyrics, blending traditional apparitions into a tapestry of cues wrought by the dance of diverse waves and ears. Music also served a crucial psychological purpose, reviving spirits when morale ebbed like the tide. It was a conduit for expressing emotion, channeling the solitude, frustration, hope, and dreams of seafarers far from home. At times, it even provided solace during storms, the haunting strains of a ballad rising over the squall, a stark reminder of human resilience amid nature's fury. It reminds you that in these musical moments, sailors found solace in their vulnerability, crafting connections where language sometimes failed. The power of song resonates with durable simplicity, a unifier on a voyage where differences fade to the common beat of human experience, where every note, sung atop waves strewn like stars, supports this shared consciousness, unspooling upon each sailor's enigmatic voyage within. As the stars blink into existence across the night sky, you drift on music's ageless currents, where life echoes bold in exhaled heartbeats embraced by heaven's breath. Grand or gentle, the music doesn't simply accompany life at sea, it enhances it, a spontaneous and enduring celebration tethered to both firmament and foam. The ship moves onward, a concert sailing singularly forward, orchestrated as much by the past as present chords harmonizing through the ocean world. Sweet is the sound that follows you now, as seafaring hearts blend their voices into one harmonious navigation of life's symphonic passage. A concert reminding all that life, despite its challenges, is worth both the battles and the ballads, sung in notes echoing across infinity. As the horizon unfolds before you, tinged with the first light of dawn, the ship sails into waters historically shadowed by a constant threat, piracy. These intrepid sailor raiders, often romanticized in tales of adventure, presented a real and fearsome hazard to those traversing busy sea lanes. Imagine the tension rippling through a crew as whispers of potential pirate encounters circulate, their presence an ever-looming spectre on the fringes of maritime exploration. Piracy was an inseparable part of the seafaring narrative, a dangerous game of cat and mouse that demanded vigilance and cunning. The allure of piracy lay entwined with its risk. Here were men driven by the prospect of plunder, glory, and, For some, a life of wit and intrigue on the high seas. For the honest mariner, though, these foes were harbingers of deceit and violence, threatening not only their cargo but their very lives. Conceive of standing on deck, your senses attuned to any hint of approach, a sudden sail on the horizon, or the ominous crest of a rogue wave, hinting at hidden danger. With fortunes amassed in cherished cargo, each ship was an enticing prize for the buccaneers, providing both lucrative goods and valuable hostages when aggression overtook negotiation. How did sailors prepare for such confrontations, you wonder? Their ships were often outfitted with defences, cannons and small arms, cunningly concealed until the moment combat became inevitable. Imagine the crew scrambling into action as the alarm is shouted across the decks, transforming the smooth running of the ship into one of fierce defence. Men rushed to ready their weapons, eyes hardened by resolve. The secret to survival often lay in evasion, or, failing that, in the clever strategies born of necessity. Nimbler vessels could outpace their pursuers, while ingenious captains might employ ruses, hoisting false flags or employing decoys to deceive the pirates in their wake. Historians still ponder over which tactics prevailed most effectively in the vast oceanic chessboard machinations, as rich in creativity as audacity. Yet, the pirates themselves were far from rudimentary ruffians. They lived by their own codes, blending a democracy on board with ruthless efficiency. Leaders like Blackbeard, Calico Jack, or Anne Bonny were figures of cunning, poised between villainy and legend. Scholars dispute their place within societal rebellion or luck-seeking mass of rogues. Whatever their standing, their exploits garnished with tales that dazzled many, painting a life of liberty or infamy delicately embroidered with salt and smoke. Sometimes, treaties sought to combat piracy by pooling naval resources, organised escorts navigating pirate-infested waters to ensure merchants safe passage. Yet, the audacious still found opportunities, each engagement forging part of the annals of ocean combat, miniature war stories wrought upon crest and fall. Surprising still were the unintended connections forged between enemies. On rare occasions, a captured sailor might join pirate ranks, a conversion that emphasized freedom over fate, alluring perhaps in stark contrast to a sailor's rigged life, steeped as it was within hierarchy's folding waves. Certainly, a journey of ambiguity and tangled loyalties buoyed by human instinct was fleshed into the salt-hardened sinew of seafaring ethos. In this eternal shadow play between law and the lawless, maritime tales spin and weave amid cannon roars and bilge-rat tales, a testament to sailors' restless drive to conquer, capitalize, and coexist within ever-looming possibility. As you stand on the bow, feeling the morning breeze brush through your hair, you understand that piracy extends beyond these infamous legends. It was a facet of exploration, economic exchange, and survival. A narrative refusing simplification. From its wake flows a complex legacy of resilience, emphasizing humanity's boundless adaptability amid life's shifting seas. Ever forward, your ship navigates with cautious eyes across this oceanic tapestry. Onward sails the enduring spirit of adventure, a tradition where peril and promise rise as one to carve within history's liquid pages, allowing lore and legend to cascade together upon our common continuum. Much like how sea and story forever intertwine in the depths of maritime time. As the ship journeys onward, leaving behind the spectre of piracy, it ventures toward the havens of human activity, the bustling ports that line the world's coastlines. These ports were not only sanctuaries for weary sailors, but also dynamic trading hubs, vibrant with the commerce and cultural exchanges that coloured the tapestry of maritime life. Picture the ship as it slips into a harbour, its sails gently flapping in the wind before coming to rest. The port is alive with sounds, a cacophony of clattering docks, the calls of merchants hawking their wares, and the chatter of diverse tongues mingling in the salty air. Ships from distant lands sway gently at anchor, their cargo holds brimming with the treasures of the world, waiting patiently to be offloaded into eager hands. These ports were beacons of opportunity, where gold and goods changed hands, and alliances were forged, or broken. To sailors, they were more than economic centres. They were moments of reprieve from the unyielding sea. Imagine the thrill of stepping onto solid ground after weeks adrift, the feel of earth steady beneath boots, a welcome contrast to ceaseless waves. Goods streamed into these bustling marketplaces, each item carrying the imprint of its origin. Exotic spices from the east mingled with silks and pearls, while furs and artisan crafts moved eastward to feed the insatiable hunger for new marvels. You can almost see merchants haggling with fervour, their gestures animated as they negotiate prices, each in pursuit of a lucrative deal amidst the colourful fabric deepening this maritime mosaic. Amidst the market frenzy, taverns thrived, with stories and laughter. Here, sailors sought refreshment and relief, sharing tales of exploits and mirages glimpsed across vast ocean expanses. The taverns buzzed with lively vibrations, their floors stained with spilled ale and hearty camaraderie, as crew members relaxed in the company of companions forged through shared toil and tempest. These ports also served as melting pots of culture, where the intermingling of people from diverse backgrounds brought about exchanges of ideas as much as of trade. Historians revel in the stories of how languages crisscrossed, cuisines mingled, and fashion and music evolved, a global exchange realized upon these coastal crossroads. However, merchants and sailors didn't just exchange goods, they carried knowledge and news. Whispers of consequential events from foreign shores spreading like ripples through the entwined networks. Perhaps they were seeds of revolution or change, unknowingly sown with the dockside banter or the shifting breeze tickling intimate connections amid the hubbub of streets carved by salt and footstep. Although, not every port offered safety. Where the line between law and lawlessness blurred, risk brewed beneath guise of prosperity. Some pirates discarded their sea routes for land-based schemes, craving a slice of the wealth carried upon these bustling waters, a reminder that human nature, both good and ill, adhered like barnacles to even the grandest endeavours. Yet through the ebb and flow of commerce and clashing cultures, ports remained indispensable to mariners. They were both an anchor and a launchpad, places where dreams were kindled alongside campfires illuminating mind and horizon. Here, sailors sought the guidance of local pilots who navigated treacherous straits, or shipwrights who reinforced their vessels for journeys anew. The bond between port and mariner was a dance framed in coastlines and fond farewells. As your journey navigates these vibrant harbours, it becomes clear that these ports were more than mere stopovers. They were part of the life force that propelled the age of exploration. Each cargo unloaded, and every tale told, contributed to an ever-growing tapestry, knitting together the visceral and the visionary in a seafaring symphony, uniting the globe beneath a shared sky. Finally, as the ship drifts gracefully from the quay, a renewed breath fills its sails. Within the frenzied energy of ports, the steady exchange nurturing meaningful understanding ensures that the spirit of exploration continues to blossom, ever forward, as the world unfolds its stories across the gentle embrace of time's endless sea. As the ship sets sail away from the bustling port, your thoughts turn to those often overlooked in the annals of maritime history, the women and families who played crucial roles in the nautical world. Though the image of the ship's crew is typically male-dominated, women and families were deeply entwined with each voyage, whether hidden in the shadows or standing defiantly at the fore. Picture women of the era as the true keepers of the shore, tending to homes and businesses while awaiting the return of their seafaring partners. Their lives weren't mere pauses between adventures, they were the steadfast anchors of maritime communities, taking on the responsibilities of both caregiver and manager, roles often thrust upon them by necessity and strength. While traditional narratives might leave women dockside, peering wistfully across the waves, many found their way onto ships, particularly those skilled or daring enough to seek the ocean's edge. Women disguised themselves to join crews, glowed actors on a watery stage, and defied societal constraints in search of freedom, adventure, or reunion with a loved one. You can envision the subtle smirk of a stowaway woman, her guise a uniform of daring and courage as she navigates the turbulent world aboard. Historians still debate the extent of female participation in direct seafaring roles, yet examples abound of women who boarded for love, profit, or necessity. Some found employment in roles traditionally reserved for men, while others took on unofficial capacities, offering support, wisdom, and perspective amid male camaraderie. Even in households, picture enterprising wives who captained businesses in their husband's absence, proving that the influence of women extended far beyond narrative simplifications. Moreover, ships sometimes became family vessels, with captains bringing wives and children along for the voyage. Imagine lively children dashing underfoot across the deck, their laughter punctuating the steady hum of rigging and wind. These familial ships were small floating communities, balancing the dual challenges of navigating both oceanic and domestic tides. The gentle presence of family created pockets of intimacy amid the vast impersonal sea, where personal dynamics meshed with shared goals. In certain ports, families formed the backbone of seafaring operations, their members working in concert to build and maintain ships, manage trade, and foster the connections that made maritime ventures possible. It was through these familial networks that mariners found not just comfort, but also opportunity. Relationships that bound together both bloodlines and businesses on waves of shared ambition. The presence of women and families in maritime tales challenges traditional perspectives, offering richer narratives that underscore resilience, interdependence, and innovation. Imagine them as integral threads woven into the maritime tapestry, each contributing to the complex and vibrant fabric of exploration and discovery. These women, through their own quiet strength and sheer resolve, turned the tide of what it meant to be part of the seafaring tradition, redefining horizons both literally and figuratively. Back on the deck of your imaginary ship, you begin to see it clearly. Here is a world made richer and more varied by the people shaping and supporting voyages from shore to shore and through every harbour in between. Their stories, though often camouflaged within the broader tides of exploration, remain bound up in the ringing clarity of ocean life, a testimony to the steadfast determination of families whose courage traversed both hearth and horizon. As the salt-laden wind fills the sails once more, this legacy continues to unfurl against the open sky, a legacy of endurance, shared sacrifice, and unyielding spirit. Women and families, as much a part of the ocean's embrace as any mariner, chart their own courses into the annals of history, extending the horizons of possibility to illuminate paths anew, an age-old adventure akin to the warm embrace of a homecoming. As the ship progresses on its journey, you sense a shift from the serene beauty of the open sea to the darker realities faced by sailors, the ever-present spectre of shipwrecks. These maritime disasters were stark reminders of the ocean's unforgiving nature and the thin line between human courage and nature's fury. Imagine being aboard a ship caught in a vicious storm, the wind roaring like a wild beast, waves crashing over the bow, and every sailor's heart racing with primal fear. In those times, the true character of a sailor was revealed. The intense struggle for survival played out beneath the looming shadow of impending doom. Shipwrecks were etched into the collective maritime consciousness, tales of both harrowing loss and incredible resilience that echoed through ports and seafaring lore alike. The history of shipwrecks stretches back to antiquity, with each age leaving behind haunting remnants strewn across the ocean floor. You can envision these underwater graveyards where barnacle-encrusted hulls lie silent, entombed forever by the sea. Each site is a time capsule, holding whispers of its story of dreams shattered, lives lost, lessons learned, and spirits tested against overwhelming odds. Survival was a matter of skill, luck, and sometimes sheer willpower. The lifeboats themselves, not much more than flotsam when pitched against titanic waves, offered narrow chances clutched tightly by desperate hands. Imagine sailors battling against the ocean's ire, rowing with all their might, their hopes of rescue flickering like fragile candles amid a storm's wrath. Yet, those cast ashore, those spared the sea's immediate embrace, faced the trials of isolation, deprivation, and the elements as they awaited rescue or devised makeshift ways to reach safety. Shipwreck survivors often found themselves in remote or hostile environments, reliant upon their ingenuity and camaraderie to survive. You sense their spirit of resilience, drawing strength from each other and the rawness of survival instinct, finding solace even when ensnared by nature's harshest crucible. Shipwreck stories also stir debates among historians, who sift through archaeological finds for clues, piecing together narratives that span centuries. Scholars argue over the causes of famous wrecks, from navigational errors and structural failures to the unpredictability of maritime weather. Each theory painting a picture of what might have transpired when ship and sea clashed in deadly embraces. Amidst the tragedy lies a quirky human penchant for seeking silver linings. Shipwrecks sometimes became legends of buried treasure, with tales of lost gold and riches seething imaginations, launching expeditions and tantalizing treasure hunters with promises of discovering fortune amid the ruins. These quests are a rich blend of adventure and folly, where reality dances with fantasy in the shimmering wake of the past. But beyond these pursuits lies a deeper symbolism. Shipwrecks stand as testaments to human tenacity and the eternal quest for exploration. They are reminders that life, in its inherent unpredictability, must be faced with both awe and caution, a delicate balance exemplified by those who dare the deep. As the ship shakes off the shadows of its imagined wreckage, you appreciate the gravity of each nautical venture. These ages-old echoes of shipwrecks remind us of both adventure and caution, warning mariners to respect the ocean's dual nature, nurturing yet capricious, offering bounty and taking it away in equal measure. This juxtaposition propels us forward, understanding that the tales seamed into maritime lore are born from human spirit woven into the sea's fabric. The legacy of seafaring exploration becomes an anthem, a song resonating through wreck and wonder alike, a tribute to those souls who've both fallen beneath the waves and risen anew upon the world's endless oceans. With the ship sailing forth, the lessons of shipwrecks remain etched into the vessel's timbers, whispering reminders that, while voyages may end abruptly, the stories and courage of those who sail upon the sea continue to venture across the unending horizon, promising to reveal yet more of the world's mysteries. As the ship sails steadily into the realm of discovery, you find yourself contemplating the unexpected scientific insights that emerged from the great age of sail. This chapter of maritime history is not just about surviving tempestuous seas, but also about the accidental advancements in science and understanding that blossomed from these voyages. These discoveries transformed the world's knowledge, painting the ocean as a fertile ground where curiosity and necessity nurtured breakthrough. Imagine being on a ship, the deck bustling with activity and minds alight with observation. What might seem like the simple daily tasks of navigation and seamanship opened the door to scientific inquiry. Each sailor, a nascent explorer not only of realms but also of reason. As you walk amidst the crew, you witness how their interactions with the elements foster an empirical spirit, one curious glance at nature at a time. Out at sea, with stars spinning overhead in their celestial dance, sailors tracked the heavens, measuring angles and charting courses, tasks that subtly advanced astronomy. Knowledge gleaned while at sea enriched that of the lands left behind, despite the sailors perhaps being unaware of the celestial revolutions they contributed to. Consider the chronometer, for instance, a pivotal innovation birthed by maritime necessity. Its invention marked a revolution in measuring longitude, a challenge that had plagued mariners navigating vast oceans with only shifting wind currents and changing constellations for guides. The quest for accurate timekeeping at sea propelled advancements in timepiece technology, forever changing navigation and spurring on further scientific discovery on both land and sea. Botanical knowledge surged forth from the fertile soils of the ship-decked sailors, transporting strange plants from distant lands back to European gardens and academic centres. These botanical specimens became fables of discovery as New World flora transformed cuisine, medicine, and agriculture. The sailors, unwitting botanists, transported with them lush spices, intriguing blooms, and medicinal herbs, each plucked from exotic locales and nurtured on board in makeshift greenhouses. Furthermore, marine biology experienced its own blooming. As vessels traversed uncharted territories, the striking creatures hauled aboard captured the imaginations of naturalists. The sea creatures, whether they be strange fishes, dazzling corals, or spiraled seashells, delighted those eager to decipher the ocean's whispered secrets and how they might echo the natural world's harmony and variety. Each specimen archived expanded humanity's understanding of biodiversity, echoing the ocean's endless lessons in adaptation and survival. Unwilling scientists born of circumstance, these sailors marveled at how plants and animals thrived beyond familiar lands. Meteorology also took its place under the sun, as sailors chronicled weather patterns over tumultuous seas, gradually piecing together their observations. Ships became floating laboratories, both sides of the horizon painted with wind forces, cloud formations, and barometric itchings from which emerged a nuanced understanding of maritime meteorology. Oceanographers map out temperatures, currents, and even the gradual circuits of global gyres, unknowing co-architects of future scientific charts. Historians delight in recounting how iconic navigational stories perpetuated scientific collisions. men and women who contributed meaningfully to their fields despite in some instances lacking formal training. Scholars argue about the precise impact of these contributions. Each scientific insight an intricate puzzle piece of history puzzle, revealing previously unseen vistas. Curiosity fostered both a direct and an ethereal relationship with the sea. The endless pursuit into experiments to quench that ineffable thirst for the sea's secrets gave birth to accumulated knowledge, each droplet elevating collective understanding. As you ponder these serendipitous moments of learning, it's clear that exploration is not merely about discovering new lands, but about discovering new ways of knowing and evolving. The breakthroughs achieved by seafaring communities weren't solely products of resourceful experimentation, but of connection, connecting minds to worlds, experiences, and the relentless, intricate quest for understanding that mapped the journey from shore to shore. With the ship surrounded by the ocean's symphonic hum, you press forward, guided by the understanding that each journey writes into the unending chronicles of science and discovery, a journey buoyed by the dreams and achievements of those who dared to explore the harmonious marriage between humanity and the vibrant expanse of the natural world. As your ship charts its course across the open sea, each ripple of water seems to echo with the rich history of cultural exchange that was facilitated by these maritime journeys. The ocean has always been a conduit for more than just goods and riches. It has been a bridge connecting disparate worlds, enabling the ebb and flow of tradition, language, ideas, and beliefs. This tapestry of global interconnectivity, woven strand by strand across the centuries, underscores the profound impact of these watery highways. Just imagine the port bustling with activity as ships arrive from distant lands. Each vessel is a floating hub of cultural exchange, bringing with it not just tangible goods, but stories, customs, and practices that are eagerly absorbed by those it encounters. The sailors aboard these ships become inadvertent ambassadors, spreading the riches of their cultures, even as they absorb new customs and ideas in return. Consider the language of trade itself, a unique pidgin developed out of necessity as sailors and merchants communicated across linguistic barriers. These hybrid tongues, born out of necessity, were rich in their simplicity and adaptability, facilitating understandings that outstripped conventional barriers. You can almost hear the animated negotiations, punctuated by gestures and shared laughter, as linguistic amalgamations paint a vivid picture of human creativity and the universal desire to connect. In the markets and taverns where sailors gathered, new ideas flowed as freely as the ale. Philosophies from the East mingled with Western thought, sparking new understandings and inspiring shifts in perspective. These exchanges of mind and spirit led to profound transformations in the worlds of art, science, and politics. The dialogue and debate that thrived in these environments gave birth to innovative ideas that would ripple through cultures far beyond the shores of their origins. The spread of religious beliefs was another facet of this cultural exchange. Mariners, who often sought divine protection from the perils of sea travel, introduced foreign faiths and spiritual practices to new territories. These introductions weren't always smooth. Historians debate the extent to which different religious ideals coexisted on ships, and how they influenced the societies they encountered. Yet, despite the inevitable tensions, the cross-pollination of beliefs led to an enriched spiritual landscape, manifesting in diverse forms of art, architecture, and rituals. Consider, too, the impact on cuisine, an area where cultural fusion was almost immediate. As ships transported spices, grains, and other ingredients to new lands, regional flavors merged to create deliciously inventive dishes that blended exotic tastes with local traditions. Imagine sailors and locals gathering to enjoy a meal that combines familiar staples with newfound spices, fostering connections over shared sustenance. The exchange of goods, ideas, and traditions wasn't always straightforward. It was complex, multidimensional, and sometimes fraught with misunderstandings. But it was precisely this complexity that enriched the global human experience, providing both challenges and opportunities for growth, understanding, and innovation. Where obstacles arose, so did resilient solutions, as those engaging with different cultures learned to navigate the delicate balance between respect and adaptation. As your ship sails through these waters, the waves themselves seem to whisper tales of connections forged across oceans and generations. You're reminded that these exchanges were more than the sum of their parts. They were the lifeblood of a global integration process that continues to shape our world today. Each voyage pushed the boundaries of human experience, enabling societies to adapt and thrive through the fertile mixture of diverse knowledge and innovation. The kaleidoscope of cultures that the ocean nurtured has left an indelible mark on civilizations, an ongoing testament to humanity's adaptability amid the ebb and flow of time. As your ship carries onward, these collective experiences become more than individual stories. They are melodies harmonizing across continents and generations, playing out in an eternal maritime symphony that continues to unfold across the world's endless blue tapestry. In acknowledging this melange of cultures and ideas, you pay homage to the countless souls whose journeys across the seas helped shape the human narrative. A tale enriched by shared diversity, resilience, and the innate desire to connect over the vast, rolling blue that binds us all as one. As the ship continues its relentless journey across the wide expanse of the sea, you find yourself drawn into the echoes of legendary storms that have etched their mark throughout maritime history. These storms were not mere meteorological events. They were monumental forces that shaped the course of history, altering the destinies of both men and nations. Like the restless ocean itself, these tempests left tales of endurance, devastation, and inspiration in their wake. Picture yourself caught in the throes of such a storm, the wooden hull of the ship groaning in protest against the monstrous waves that crash mercilessly upon it. The fury of the wind shrieks through the rigging, as if the heavens themselves had unleashed their rage. Sailors scramble to secure lines and adjust sails, each movement a calculated maneuver in the age-old battle between man and nature. One such legend that dominates the annals of maritime lore is the Tempest that reportedly saved Japan from Mongol invasion, known as the Kamikaze, or Divine Wind. This mighty storm destroyed the fleet of Kublai Khan in the 13th century, an event that spared the Japanese islands and cemented the storm's place in history as a celestial protector. The tale of the Kamikaze underscores the profound belief that storms were not just natural phenomena, but expressions of divine intervention sculpting the fortunes of nations. Other storms have left behind debates among historians, who argue about the intricate webs of fate spun by these tempests. Was it merely chance, or some celestial orchestration that directed the course of critical battles and the survival, or demise, of vessels full of explorers and traders? Regardless, the ferocity of these storms was accepted as both arbitrary and awesome, a fact not lost on those pitted against their mercilessness. The skill of sailors was tested in these moments, their survival dependent on not only their own abilities, but also on the craftsmanship of their ships. The outcome was a testament to human resilience and adaptability, qualities that have been honed by generations willing to challenge the sea's might. The stormy confrontation becomes a crucible of courage, each flash of lightning illuminating faces set with grim determination, each peal of thunder echoing a hard-learned lesson in respect. In the aftermath of such storms, the sea often revealed unexpected treasures. Shipwrecks cast up their secrets, flotsam carried by currents to distant shores, each piece a clue to the ocean's narratives. Salvagers and beachcombers scoured the tide line for remnants of vanished vessels, collecting driftwood and artifacts washed ashore as silent witnesses to the storm's power. Even the cultural memory of storms was rich, seeded with tales and artistic expressions that sought to capture the raw and untamed beauty of nature unleashed. Painters, writers, and poets found inspiration in these epic battles, capturing both the terror and the majesty of a world where human endurance was but a flicker against the vastness of the skies and seas. Storms, both real and legendary, thus stood as metaphors for the trials of existence, a reflection of life's unpredictability and the inner strength required to weather it. They were reminders that within the chaos of calamity lies the potential for renewal, understanding, and growth, a story heard time and again across the shores, whispered in harmony with the tides. As your ship rides the swells, you sense that these legends are timeless, each storm another verse in the sea's eternal song of change and chance. Like sailors before you, you sail on, conscious of the lessons and legacies written on the winds, a generational wisdom drawn from trials in the depths of the ocean's wrath. But within the soul of every sailor is a quiet resilience, full of hope that, after every storm, the sunlight returns, its golden warmth a promise of safe passage, a whispered testament to the interminable bond between those who brave the waves and the mighty ocean that commands them. As your ship sails through the golden hues of a dawn recently gifted by a departing storm, Reflections on the spiritual dimension of the sea intertwine with the physical journey unfolding before you. The ocean has always been a canvas for spiritual contemplation, embodying mysteries profound enough to inspire deep inquiry and reverence among sailors who traversed its expansive form. Imagine standing on the deck as the sun rises, its first rays cutting through the lingering mist. The salty air is tinged with the ethereal remnants of dreams, and the vast horizon before you speaks of endless possibilities and hidden realms. For the sailors of old, the sea wasn't just a physical expanse, it was a spiritual entity, inhabited by divine forces and supernatural beings that required both respect and veneration. Each journey was embarked upon with a sense of divine protection, a belief that the spirits of the sea watched over those bold enough to navigate its depths. Countless rituals and offerings accompanied the commencement of voyages. A drop of wine poured overboard, a murmured prayer, or a lucky charm tucked away, these small acts were imbued with profound significance. Offerings to Neptune, Poseidon, or a host of other deities depending on cultural faith. Churches and temples along coastal towns bore witness both to miraculous rescues and to those taken by the sea. Remnants of mariners' gratitude or anguish etched into walls, whispered into scented incense, or woven into delicate votive ship models. Each symbol was an eternal dialogue, a compact between heaven, earth, and briny deep. The landward manifestation of ocean-bound spiritual reverence. The spiritual practices didn't stop on land. Altars were sometimes fashioned in the holds of ships, sacred spaces where sailors could seek guidance and strength before facing the unknown. Songs of devotion mixed with sea shanties, creating a spiritual melody that transcended individual faiths to become shared expressions of hope and community. Historians contemplate the depth of these practices, discussing the genuine faith and sometimes desperate fear underpinning them, as sailors encountered conditions harsh enough to question human insignificance within the greater cosmos. The ocean, unknowable yet irresistible, taught humility through its magnitude, a reflection of existential queries into life and its imponderable meaning. The spiritual seas thus became an allegorical journey. Mermaids and sea monsters, guides and guardians, rose from the deep. These symbols of divine intervention in spiritual tales personified mariners' struggles, emotions, and yearnings, sculpting a world where mythology and faith met caressed sea spray. This mystical realm also encouraged artistic expression, as painters and poets sketched waves rich with ethereal hues. The ocean was a muse, inspiring allegories reflecting the inconstant rhythms of human emotion, beauty, and power. Thus, amidst the thunderous dialogues of storms, or the serenity of starlit stillness, sailors found echoes of mortality's wonders in the liquid mirror of time, peace gliding over troubled waters. Even without wooden decks beneath your feet, the spiritual connection remains. The rituals, beliefs, and traditions that surrounded ancient maritime life persevere in providing comfort and context. These practices became the heartbeats that tied sailors to home and horizons, familiar gestures reaffirming their intertwined destiny with the sea. As night descends once more and constellations usher in a tapestry of light, you sail on, each breath a testimony to the bond between humanity, belief, and the grand wisdoms echoed across the eternal ocean. For everything known, and more still to know, lies the truth carried by stories born on the water's edge, gently whispering within every satin wave which continues to cradle dreams and draw the faithful across infinity's promise. So, sailing onward, the reality of spiritual seas is a timeless reminder. The ocean's heart beats in rhythm with those who navigate its depths, offering mystery, humility, and wonder, in perfect harmony as you continue your voyage into the uncharted vastness of both sea and soul. As the ship glides gently across the placid expanse of the ocean, the rare tranquility of the sea offers a soothing counterpoint to its more tempestuous moments. These peaceful days at sea provide a unique opportunity for reflection and respite, where the calmness of the water mirrors the serenity within each sailor's heart. Imagine yourself reclining on the sun-warmed deck, surrounded by the rhythmic lapping of waves against the hull. A gentle lullaby that carries a sense of contentment and ease. When the sea is calm and winds are favourable, sailors find themselves in a world transformed. The stillness fosters a deep appreciation for the ocean's beauty. Its vast blue stretched to infinity, unmarred by tempest or turmoil. With no immediate crises to address, the crew can relax, allowing the day's routines to unfold with a languid grace. The sound of a seagull's cry overhead blends seamlessly with the soft creak of the ship's timbers, while the occasional splash of dolphins accompanying the vessel invokes delight and wonder. These peaceful interludes at sea become cherished memories, a pocket of serenity amidst the trials of the open ocean. For sailors, such days are gifts, time to mend sails and nets or attend to minor repairs without the urgency imposed by harsher conditions. These calm stretches also invite camaraderie among the crew, fostering moments of genuine connection and shared laughter. Stories are swapped, cards are dealt, and songs are sung without the need for synchronization required during labor-intensive chores. Bonds strengthen as seasoned sailors pass knowledge to the younger crew, K-knots, weather signs, and the subtleties of navigation. All the accumulated wisdom of a life at sea passed down with the same reverence as ancient lore. Beyond the immediacy of daily tasks, the calm seas offer a fertile ground for quieter pursuits. Letters penned with thoughts of distant loved ones or sketches capturing the ocean's infinite ways to exist become the emotional anchors sailors cling to during these serene pauses. You can almost hear the scratch of a pen traversing paper, each stroke a bridge connecting aspirations to realities and journeys to destinations. Yet even in this tranquility, sailors remain ever vigilant. Their eyes are trained to seek the subtle signs of change, for they know that the ocean's moods can shift as swiftly as a skiff upon rising waves. This balance of relaxation and readiness is mirrored by the ocean, which holds beneath its surface worlds to explore, mysteries as deep as the sea itself. As you muse on this serene setting, historians debate how much of life at sea was marked by such calm, and whether the tranquility provided the introspective space needed for innovation and creativity, a truth-solid haven where beauty found refuge among bustling, brine-draped decks. These peaceful interludes encouraged reflection, offering sailors precious insight into themselves, their comrades, and the revered old sea they traversed. Each peaceful crossing becomes an unwritten song, part of the eternal symphonic ocean. To those fortunate enough to experience it, this tranquil respite reinforces the bond between humanity and nature. For amid the sea's tranquil embrace lies the reminder of our own deep connection to the natural world, a connection that underlines the fragile beauty of our planet's waters. Embrace these rare, harmonious stretches as opportunities for rejuvenation and gratitude, gifts of time that enliven the spirit and reinforce the soul's foundations before the waves and winds call the ship onward in its eternal voyage. As the ship sails steadily through these peaceful seas, you carry within you the memory of repose, tucking it safely away to draw upon whenever the world's breadth or life's depths seem unyielding. In the quiet lap of gentle waves, you find echoes of whispered promises and unsung tales yet to unfurl, stories serene and enduring, offered by the endless blue that cradles sailors' dreams in perfect harmony upon the eternal sea. The sea stretches endlessly before you, a testament to the timeless voyage humankind has undertaken to conquer its vast expanse. As your ship sails forward, you ponder the evolution of sailing tactics that has occurred over centuries, a remarkable transformation driven by both innovation and necessity. This evolution speaks volumes about the human capacity to adapt and innovate, crafting ever more sophisticated strategies to harness the power of the waves and winds. Consider the early days of seafaring, where the simplest vessels hugged the coastlines, guided by the rhythms of the tides and powered by the muscle of rowers. The audacity of those early sailors set the stage for future generations, establishing the courage required to venture beyond the sight of land. These daring adventurers, with their hearts as guides and rudimentary tools as companions, laid the foundation for the magnificent age of sail that would follow. As time marched on, the evolution of ship design and sailing technique became a testament to human ingenuity. The introduction of the lateen sail, a triangular sail that enabled ships to tack against the wind, marked a significant advancement in nautical technology. With this innovation, the Mediterranean became a thoroughfare of commerce and exploration, allowing sailors to maneuver more efficiently and reliably through the shifting winds. Another leap forward came with the development of the caravel, a nimble ship that combined the best elements of speed and cargo capacity. This design became the vessel of choice for explorers like Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama, who pushed the boundaries of the known world, driven by an insatiable curiosity to chart new territories. Each journey revealed new techniques and insights into harnessing the elements, and with them, a deeper understanding of the sea's complex language. It's fascinating to consider how sailing tactics evolved, not just from technological advances, but from accumulated wisdom and experience. Through trial and error, sailors developed a nuanced understanding of wave patterns, wind currents, and celestial navigation. This knowledge, passed down through generations, became a revered art, a spiritual communion between sailor and sea. Historians offer varying opinions on which cultures contributed the most to these advancements. Was it the seafaring Norsemen with their nimble longships, or the adventurous Polynesians who traversed the vast Pacific guided by the stars? The debate is vibrant. Each possible predecessor cherished for the distinct legacy it left etched upon the nautical chart. The advent of the compass and astrolabe further revolutionized navigation, providing sailors with the ability to chart a course with newfound precision. These instruments, along with advancements in cartography, laid the groundwork for long-distance voyages that expanded the horizons of civilization and forever altered the shape of human history. As you stand on the deck of your ship, you can't help but marvel at the collaborative spirit that underpins these advancements. Across centuries and cultures, seafarers have shared ideas and knowledge at ports and crossings, contributing to a global tapestry of expertise that has enabled each subsequent generation to sail further, faster, and more safely than those who came before. Even today, as modern sailing benefits from the power of technology, there remains a deeply rooted connection to the ancient mariners and their original quests. The sails unfurl, and beneath their billowing forms lies an echo of a time when the ocean was a vast, untamed frontier. An echo reminding us of the shared human journey. As the ship carries you ever onward, propelled by the wind's unfaltering breath, you are swept up in the legacy of those who have charted the waters before you. Their spirit burns brightly in the stories passed down through time, tales of courage, exploration, and discovery that continue to inspire all who seek to understand their place amidst the vastness of the sea. In reflecting on the evolution of sailing tactics, you see the human endeavour to understand, conquer, and coexist with the natural world. A profound reminder that the pursuit of exploration is as timeless as the ocean itself. As your ship sails gracefully onward, you carry within you the echoes of that enduring quest. A voyage marked by the tireless pursuit of knowledge, guided by both the stars above and the wisdom of those who navigate between. As you stand on the deck, gazing into the infinite horizon where sky meets sea, you feel part of an unending narrative that links humanity with the ocean. Thoughts drift to the philosophical musings inspired by this voyage, a reflection on the enduring relationship between people and the vast marine expanse that has shaped so much of our collective history. These musings delve into how the ocean represents both a boundary and a bridge, and how it has perpetually called out to explorers and dreamers alike. The ocean, with its rhythmic tides and vast unexplored depths, mirrors the human quest for understanding. It symbolizes both the conscious and subconscious voyages we undertake, challenges to overcome and mysteries to unravel. As you scan this oceanic tapestry, it becomes evident that the sea offers lessons in humility and wonder, a reminder of our place in a larger narrative defined by natural and cosmic forces. Imagine the countless explorers who sailed these waters, arrayed beneath stars and storytelling winds, each with their own dreams, aspirations, and fears. The sea confronted them with relentless unpredictability, yet they ventured forth, driven by an inexorable curiosity intertwined with courage, ingenuity, and hope. Their journeys form a chorus, echoing through time, encouraging you to muse upon what urges humans to explore, to seek, and to connect across distances. As your thoughts sail with the waves, you consider the blend of myth and reality that the ocean embodies. It has inspired not only tangible discoveries, but also countless stories, legends of mythical islands and creatures, tales of shipwrecks and survival, chronicles of treasure and tragedy, reflecting the dual nature of adventure and peril inherent in nautical endeavours. These myths and realities continue to captivate, offering glimpses into the transcendent power of storytelling in uniting cultures and eras. For philosophers, the sea represents a space for contemplation and reflection, a liquid canvas for pondering life's transience and depth. It serves as a metaphor for the human journey, where calm days of introspection meet wild squalls of uncertainty. The horizon acts as a visual testament that there is always more to explore, more to understand, waiting just beyond the known. Even today, as technology conquers many physical barriers, the ocean remains one of the last frontiers, an enchanting enigma that eludes complete mastery. It underscores the importance of balance, echoing the need for conservation and understanding in partnership with exploration. As your journey on this imaginative vessel draws to a close, you feel a deep connection to the world's maritime history. The lessons of the sea reinforce the interwoven fates of humanity and nature, a reminder of resilience, innovation, and the unyielding pursuit of knowledge. With the final whispers of the sea breeze, you come to realize that the stories the ocean holds are endless and ever-evolving. The wisdom imparted by these watery passages offers both grounding and inspiration, and within this reflective moment, you understand that the journey is eternal, ever inviting and ever alive. Now, with the sea's rhythmic cadence as your guide, as the sun dips below the horizon, dim the lights, let the whispers of ancient mariners lull you gently into the calm embrace of night. The voyage of today becomes the dreams of tomorrow, echoing through the timeless expanse of the ocean as painted by moonlight upon sleep's velvet canvas. Greater than, greater than, greater than. End of script. Sweet dreams.